Hey everyone, I know this is such an unconventional view or angle, but I've been trying to get my setup to look okay in the last 30 minutes and I've just gotten very frustrated. So I gave up and I was like, you know what? If they're going to see my double chin today, then that's just what's going to happen. So, um, welcome back. This is Mary Melody Marquez, and you're listening to Unmuted at M-Powerment Podcast. So today we are going to continue reacting and responding to advice posts on Reddit. So let's start with this one called What Should I Do in My Relationship by Funny Principal 8. It says, me and my girlfriend got into an argument last night and she blocked me on everything and haven't heard from her all day. I've tried reaching out on a text app, but haven't heard anything. The argument happened because she broke her Apple Watch and then started picking apart everything I've done wrong recently and took it out on me instead of realizing it's her fault she broke her watch. What should I do? So the response blueprint starts with the power of the pause. That's the critical gap between a trigger and your reaction, where you decide if you're going to be intentional or if you're going to freeze or hide. Looking at your situation, it's clear the watch wasn't the problem. It was just the trigger for displaced aggression. When someone lacks the tools for emotional regulation, they look for a hook to hang their bad mood on. It's often easier for people like these to pick you apart than it is to sit with the frustration of their own mistake. This is exactly where you need to apply the response blueprints framework to bridge the gap between your nervous system screaming and your brain making a logical choice. So instead of reacting to her chaos, you need to use the pause to look at this pattern. You have to stop chasing. And by trying to bypass the block with different apps, you're unintentionally validating a cycle where weaponized silence becomes an effective way to get your attention. You need to ask yourself if you're actually a partner in this relationship or if you'll just become a convenient punching bag for her bad days. Now, if she's the one blocking you, she isn't protecting her peace. She's actually making it worse by muting the conversation. She's muting the conversation because she's overwhelmed and underregulated, and the response blueprint is designed to move you both from this reactive survival mode into an intentional response. So, my advice for you is when the dust finally settles, the conversation shouldn't be about a broken phone or a broken Apple Watch. It should be about the boundary. You need to be able to use the response blueprint script that says, hey, when things go wrong, I need to know we are a team against the problem and not against each other. Stop holding your breath for a text or a call and start building a life that doesn't require you to stay small. All right, the next post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice. And OP is called I Am the Douche Baguette. It says, have you had a partner who was great on paper, but your lived experience didn't match how others saw him? This is about a 40-year-old female and 42-year-old male. I'm a female, 40 years old, hoping to hear from people with some life behind them because I feel like I'm going a bit crazy trying to reconcile two completely different realities. Have you ever been with a person who, by all external measures, is a good man? He is male, 42, and his parents adore him. His family thinks he's wonderful, apart from his resentful sisters who think he is mom and dad's golden boy, which is true. Strangers and his friends seem to like him because he is always very helpful, sweet, and kind towards them. He looks stable, kind, decent, responsible on paper. ... But your actual lived experience in the relationship doesn't feel as good as everyone else's experience of him. I'm at the end of my wits in this relationship where I constantly feel like I'm the only one seeing a different version of him. To the world, he's easygoing, reasonable, generous, calm. But in private, I often felt emotionally unsupported, unseen, shushed, and like my needs are inconvenient or too much. I feel like I am asking for very basic emotional things and somehow always end up feeling like I am the problem, which he repeatedly tells me. It's hard to explain without sounding ungrateful, but there's just this quiet, persistent feeling of being alone in the relationship. And like I don't matter. And when I try to voice it out, I get told it's all in my head that I ask for too much and it's never enough. What really messes with my head is how highly everyone else speaks of him. His parents thinks he's an angel. Even I sometimes think he's such a good guy. Why doesn't this feel good for me? I started doubting myself a lot, wondering if I'm too sensitive, too needy, expecting too much. But I also know what it feels like to be in it. Lonely, misunderstood, emotionally tired, and starved because whole relationship is always focused on him and how he feels, what he needs, and etc. Even when I try to convey my feelings, I get told that I'm too much, that I can't chill, I'm creating drama, or I get told it's all my fault, then stonewalling and ignore button pressed on me. So I'd really love to hear from women who've had enough relationship experience to know the difference between objectively a good person and good partner for you. Having had this experience, and how did you make sense of it? Did you also struggle with guilt or self-doubt because there was no obvious villain? I think I'm trying to understand if this is something others have lived through too, or if I'm just failing to appreciate a good man. Thank you for reading, and apologies for my post being all over the place. I am trying to make sense of my thoughts and feelings. OP, so reading your story, it's clear that you're trapped in I'll call a representative gap. You're dating his public representative while your lived experience is dealing with a person at home. When a man is great on paper, but a ghost in the relationship, it creates a psychological fog that makes you feel like you're losing your mind. And this is exactly where you apply the response blueprints framework to bridge the gap between your nervous system feeling lonely and your brain trying to create logic for you to stay. So you have to stop using other people's opinions as a performance review for your own heart. It doesn't matter if his parents thinks he's an angel or if strangers thinks he's kind and awesome. If you're emotionally starved and constantly told your needs are too much, then for you, he is not a good partner. In the response blueprint, we call this being muted. And you are being muted by the weight of external expectations. You're not being ungrateful. You're being honest about a deficit that no one else has to live with but you. The fact that he tells you it's all in your head while stonewalling you is a direct hit to your emotional regulation. And to be quite honest, it's very passive aggressive. He's essentially pressing the ignore button in your reality to protect his own good guy image. My book is designed to move you from this reactive state of self-doubt into an intentional audit of your boundaries. So you need to use the scripting tools in my book, The Response Blueprint, to stop asking for basic things and start stating your requirements. You deserve them. If this golden boy status requires you to stay small, silent, unsupported, then the cost of this good man, and I'm going to put quotes on that, is your entire personality. I'm going to repeat that. The cost of this good man is your entire personality. So stop holding your breath, stop waiting for him to finally see you, and start building a life where your lived experience actually matters. I hope this helps. This is Mary Melody Marquez. Stay unmuted, and I'll see you next time. I just realized that I was recording vertically. We're going to use the power of the pause because there's nothing else we can do about it and we have to move on. I have to practice what I preach.